Right. Going to the state level now and welcoming a longtime friend of the industry, Senator Nancy Skinner. I think we froze up.
There we
There she-
go.
All right, there you are. Okay. Hi, thanks for being here.
Hey, absolutely, Nora. Very, very happy to be here. And
Excellent.
I don't know if Susan's on also, but hi, Susan.
Hey, how's it going?
Good, great, excellent.
Yeah, Susan's in full air traffic control mode behind the scenes.
All
If you
right.
if you were listening to the channel, she'd be doing all those things. So I'm going to give you maybe a minute or two to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about Senate District 8 and
Nine.
9.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was my first mistake today, and it's the district I live in. Uh, all right. Yeah, and then I'll go into the 3 questions that I sent.
Excellent. So, hi, I'm Nancy Skinner. I'm the state senator for the East Bay District 9, which is Oakland, Berkeley, Richmond, San Leandro, Emeryville. So it's the whole I-80 corridor from Rodeo, Hercules, just go down I-80 through all the communities I mentioned, city of Alameda, and then end up in San Leandro. And that is my district, about 1 million people, amazing. And my district, along with San Francisco, has been the center of legalizing, the effort to legalize cannabis for now decades, and I'm talking decades. Clearly, we haven't always been the center for actual production and cultivation, though now we are significant there. But in terms of the focus to legalize cannabis, I think every effort to initially legalize started right here. And interestingly, personally, I've been a enjoyer of cannabis for 50 years now. And yes, I look so young. Anyway, and I have been very involved in the early efforts to legalize. So Berkeley first put on the ballot in 1973 a decriminalization measure. It was passed, but the courts threw it out. So we went back to the ballot in 1979, and I coordinated that initiative campaign. So I coordinated the campaign to have Berkeley decriminalize pot. That's, our reference then. We didn't call it cannabis. And we were successful. And I will, when you ask me questions, I'll tell you a little story about that. But my Senate district has the oldest dispensary, the largest dispensary, and and we obviously were pivotal in California's ballot initiatives, starting with medical cannabis to now the full recreational legal. And I just say that I really, I'm supportive, obviously, of both, but I also really, I want to make sure that we do not, that we don't minimize the medical side of the cannabis industry, because it is so important and so useful. And the inability to do the research that there obviously is research, and other parts of the world are doing good research, but given our health challenges, medical cannabis could be a lifesaver for so many more people. And so I think that's a very important one to just remind ourselves.
Yes, yeah, we've had a few conversations about that today, about sort of going away a little bit from that the Prop 2 15 days.
I mean, personally, I was a recreational user, but I have to say that as all through, starting back when I first got my menstrual cycle, and I suffered from really severe cramping, and basically nothing really helped, and I never wanted to take the huge doses of Advil and such because it affected my stomach. Eventually, people turned me on to cannabis. My God, life changer in terms of that. And it's been a life changer for me on a variety of other things. I don't have to use any other kind of sleep aid, and you name it. So life changer.
All right, so let's get into that first question, because we're headed there anyway.
Great.
So what's your favorite product, your favorite way to ingest, your favorite strain, your favorite cannabis story? You can answer them all. You can answer any of them.
Okay. Well, I have many products I really like, and I don't want to prejudice any companies over others, but I like edibles a lot. and for just chilling out, but sometimes also to help me sleep if I'm like right now with this COVID stuff, I get anxiety. I do still smoke cannabis, though much less. Just I'm more conscious about lung issues due to COVID and everything, so I'm doing that less. But I want to tell my story. In the coordination of that 1979 campaign, we to generate money to run the campaign, we raffled off a kilo. And so I'm sure a lot of you are like, oh my God, a kilo. Well, back and then, as you know, you had to smoke a whole fatty even to get slightly, while they were good strains, you couldn't always find them and whatever. So we were raffling off a kilo, and a kilo in those days cost about $100. So we gave this guy $100 to get the kilo for us. We sold all the raffle tickets, and it generated the money that we needed to run our campaign. And we had a big Get Out the Vote rally. And we had Congressman Ron Dellums was going to speak at that rally. And then he learned that we were selling the raffle tickets for our pot initiative. And he's like, I can't go in, I can't be on the premises if you're talking about, decriminalizing pot and da, da, da. So we had to like shut down the selling of the raffle tickets, and we had to let him go on stage. We didn't talk at all about our initiative. He left the stage, and we went back, talked about our initiative, and then we said, okay, now we're going to draw the raffle. But I'm backstage, and my friends come up to me and they go, Nancy, the guy we gave him the money, he's gone. We can't find him. We don't have the kilo. We don't have it. I'm like, he ran off with, who knows whether he just ran off with the money or the kilo, who knows? But we proceeded with our raffle anyway. And then Wavy Gravy was in the audience, and Wavy Gravy stood up and he said, hey, when they say the raffle ticket number, everybody yell, I won. So that way, if there's any fuzz in the room, you won't get arrested. So we read off the raffle number, and then everyone in the room yells, I won. But anyway, we did have one particular winner. He was a student in the dorms at UC, and we told him to meet us at the top of a Channing Way parking lot because whatever. But then because we didn't have the kilo, we told him, hey, wouldn't you rather have $100 and go buy your own? That way you don't have to worry about somebody. Anyway, so that was the funny story of our raffling a kilo, but the measure passed overwhelmingly. And Berkeley was the first successful city. It also resisted all court challenges. So yeah.
Yeah, congratulations. That's such a cool story. And I'm pretty sure that's the same weed that the federal government is doing research on today. So I think that's the same garbage bag of swag.
Right. Hey, occasionally we would get certain strains. Obviously, we had Humboldt growers and all, but whatever. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes. All right. So what is, or what do you think is, or what do you think of the current state of cannabis?
Well, I'm really, I know that we had that in the legalization, there was real, desire to maximize revenue to the state and obviously to local governments. And I think many people in the industry always were warning us about, be careful there. And actually, John Hickenlooper, who's now running for Senate in Colorado and was governor of Colorado when Colorado passed their initiative, he came to the state of California. Governor Brown invited him. He met with our Senate Dem caucus, and he said, look, don't make the mistake of over-regulating and overtaxing. Don't be trying to get too much revenue right away from your industry. Let your industry, what you want to do is let your legal industry thrive so there is no motivation for an illicit industry. And then eventually you will be able to reap the revenues from it. And I think, we didn't, when I say we, our agency, they're partly due to things that were in the initiative. We have not been as wise about that. So I really, I want to continue to be a strong partner with the industry to, basically soften those regulatory hurdles and those tax things that we've done. I think also, while I understand the local control aspect was maybe needed to get the initiative passed, we see now that many localities are hurting the business And by their unwillingness to permit and to accept, industry, then they are driving an illicit market. So I think we need to look again at the local control. I know that one is, that's one of those, but I think, we gave you local control. And if you're not utilizing it to support the legal industry, then we need to take it away from those who do. So those are some of the things that I think are really important for us to think about going forward. And I know the industry is thinking about all of that and very focused on. And I was really glad to see the governor sign those 4 bills yesterday. And also that we did the budget bill. I'm on the budget committee where we froze we didn't allow any tax increase. So, yeah.
Yes, it was gonna try to stop the bleeding a little bit, because we had a major extinction event in the industry.
Of course.
2019. Just I think as the investor money dried up because people weren't able to show the kind of numbers that maybe had been overblown in the first place.
Right.
Certainly, but also when cities and the state started to see people struggling, didn't respond as quickly.
Right. And if we think about our desire to have the equity and the inclusion in the industry, over-regulating and overtaxing is going to hurt those entrepreneurs, especially because they're going to be less likely to have the same type of investors. So I think for so many reasons, all businesses want certainty and predictability. We have to do a better job of that. And we have to realize that this is it's not a nascent industry. I mean, as I said, I'm a user 50 years. It is a nascent legal industry. And if we really want it legal and not illegal, then we have to support it.
Yeah. So that's starting to get into the third question, which is how can you serve? This is your not that you've ever been scared to touch hot button issues, certainly, but this is your last term in the Senate, and so I'm wondering, what you think you can do to help affect the change in the state of the cannabis,
Right.
in the
Well,
state
I
of
think,
cannabis.
yeah, what I mentioned, giving that certainty. Basically, even though obviously state of California, because the pandemic induced downturn, is going to really be hurting for revenue, but we should not be looking to this industry to solve our revenue problems, because we're going to drive the industry out and we're not going to get revenue from the illicit part of the industry. And that all of us are going to still use cannabis. So we need to do everything we can to support the legal industry. And that way we will get the revenue eventually that we are hoping for. Mm-hmm. So I just pledge to be a strong partner. I've carried some pieces of legislation. I was in the assembly before the legalization, and I supported Tom Amiano's, all of his bills to legalize. That was before the initiative passed. Then I was out for 2 years. And a number of my good colleagues, while I was not in the legislature, basically, took a lot of the space, which was legitimate, around the carrying bills for the industry. But I am happy to, so I welcome good ideas coming forward.
Excellent. That's great. See, I've got one question here. What would you say is an appropriate, feasible time frame for a new applicant to turn in paperwork and have a legal operation?
That's a good question. I would ask the applicant, what do you think would be appropriate? I mean, obviously, we don't want it so brief that you can't achieve it, but we also don't want such a long time that you miss the window that you might have to start your business, either from your investor's point of view or the property you're using or whatever. So I would basically turn to the industry to ask, what do you think is appropriate, and take my guidance there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know it can take a really long time to get through some of those hurdles. So I think we're down.
Part of this, we make it too complicated, so we need to make it less complicated.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, so I've got about 30 seconds. If you wanna close out, please put your website in. There were a couple other questions on
all right, let's see the chat
on other bills, and maybe you can get back to those folks. they, and I'm not sure whether you can talk about that.
So somebody asked me about the cash bail. Look, we absolutely have to vote yes, absolutely. There are some organizations that have legitimate concerns about what they call this, I don't remember what it's called, but without cash bail, there still has to be the ability to determine whether the person is at risk, either could be a danger to the community, and whether they should be held before trial or not. And there's the concern about how you figure that out. But here's the deal. Right now, we put in jail people before they're ever proven to be guilty just because they can't pay for bail. And we've got to get rid of this bail industry before we can really design an appropriate system. So I'm like, absolutely, yes, get rid of cash bail. Yes.
Okay. All right. I think that was that may have been our last bit, but please drop your website into the chat for anyone who's just signed on.
Okay.
Looks like we got some new folks while you were talking. I'm sure it had nothing to do with hearing about the kilo.
Right. I think the only thing I'd add is I'm chair of Public Safety Committee and Public Safety Budget. And of course, I have been very focused for years on eliminating, basically right-sizing California's outrageous mass incarceration system, of which there are so many people who are doing time still for drug charges that never should have been held in prison for these charges. And we are doing our best to fix that. I'm sorry that it's taken so long, but there's been a lot of progress.
Cool. Thank you. And thank you for your help and your support on that. And it's not always the big moneyed interests that are behind that. So
No.
do appreciate you
Glad to be part of it.
keeping true to your activist roots. So
Yeah.
thanks for your time today. And
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.